Okay, well, that's it. There'll be no more shows after this one. There's no place left to go but down, I guess. I'm joking, of course. Hello, all you ambitious drywallers out there, and welcome to a Coke and a Smoke episode of the Drywall Podcast. I am your host, once again, Nick Harmon. With us today, I am both humbled and excited to have Mike Ventura, president of AMES Tape Tech, on the show for his first appearance. Mike and I waste no time diving into his history as an overachieving college student who couldn't quite find the right area of study and found himself enlisting in the Navy, fulfilling a dying wish from his father. We discuss his heavy involvement with the company Bosch and how that experience led him to some interesting drywall tools.
And I visited the office the first time. There was a piece of Baker staging sitting in the office for some weird reason. And there were a bunch of what I'll call tools sitting on it. And I asked someone what they were, and they said, "Those are our tools." And I remember lifting it up and saying, "How on earth does this put tape and compound on the wall?"
After getting a handle, literally, on the tools, Mike helped pioneer a new handle for the box tool, among several other tools, and a string of patents that's separating AMES and Tape Tech from the rest of the competition. Mike is an extremely accomplished person in the drywall industry, and we are lucky to have him on this show. From the wizard tool to creating strategic alliances that put him on the pinnacle of the leading tool company in the industry, we cover it all on this very special drywall podcast. Speaking of tools, I'm humbled to usher back in our friends at Tape Tech for their number 5 sponsorship of the show. They are now the leading supporter of the Drywall Podcast, and we appreciate them for that. This month, we're spotlighting a little tool called the Mud Runner Pro. Your corner game is about to get faster, cleaner, and a whole lot easier on your body. Introducing the second generation Tape Tech Mud Runner Pro, the MR01TT. What the hell does that mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. This thing is designed to apply mud to inside and outside corners with precision, control, and honestly, almost no effort. Right away, you will notice it's lighter than the original Mud Runner, 15%, which means less strain, less wear and tear, and more finishing without feeling burned out at the end of the day. The Mud Runner Pro has a 20% stronger piston, so it pushes thicker mud better. And that clear tube, it's not a gimmick. You always know exactly how much compound you have left. If you've listened this far, you are a smart person, because Tape Tech is giving one of these babies away at the end of the month, and now you know about it. All you have to do is email me at info@frescoharmony.com. I need your full name, shipping address, phone number, and email. Also, I'll be offering the same deal on our Instagram page, so be sure to look for this offer there. And if you're at it, you may as well follow Tape Tech and the Drywall Podcast as well. But for now, we have Mike Ventura. I don't know how I got him, but we got him on the 156th episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it.
Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
We got you. I didn't know if you'd make it on the show.
I'm here.
You're a man of your word.
It's my normal routine. So despite the fact that I am on less than 12 hours of sleep since last Saturday, I am here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and excited to speak with you.
And you have your lab coat on. You've been working in the lab.
This is no. This is a nice clothes,
okay.
Actually, but it does look a little Polar-esque. Like it looks a little like one of those puffy jackets. But it's quite comfortable. This was at a a golf outing in Canada. So I don't think you'd ever find this particular garment at a golf course down near me in Florida. But in Canada, it was an everyday wind shirt for them, is this sort of insulated wind shirt. But anyway,
There you go. There you go. You've
all
got
good.
if you're listening at home, Mike has his background blurred out, and so he kind of looks like he's like sort of floating,
Um,
like with kind of like a lab coat because I can only see from the neck up.
I apologize. I will fix
Doesn't
that.
matter. I
I
like
will
it.
fix
That's a
that.
good
All
background.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Mike Ventura, president of Ames Tool. This is like sort of the pinnacle. I feel like I can't get any higher from here. I'm gonna have to, it's all downhill from here. You may as well just stop listening.
That is not true. There are far more important people than I am, but certainly
Okay.
excited to be part of Ames Tools and happy to speak with you today.
Excellent. Well, we like to have a lot of fun, and hopefully, this will be not a stressful, just sort of a chill morning or afternoon activity. It's afternoon there a little bit for you. I understand that you're busy. I've heard from more than one person that you like to stay busy. You're just in your email. You said you were just getting back from Europe. Is that right?
That is correct. I was in Europe for most of this week doing various things with some suppliers and customers, and we also have a warehouse over in Europe to service our customers there. So we were checking in on the warehouse, doing a little bit of inventory, and just looking at the market overall there.
Boots on the ground. I like it. We're talking about like you sort of like what do you want to talk about? You and I have done one sort of Zoom call with Tabitha. I feel like we had good, rapport on that. I like to dig in and really get to the bottom of who people are on the Drywall podcast. I think it's important for our industry to learn not only about the people that are working with the tools in the field, but also people that make the tools, and people that, run the companies that deliver the tools and things like that. So I know that from when we've talked in the past that you were a builder, you were in the building industry too, but let's go back even farther. Are you a college graduate type person?
I am a college graduate. I am
Okay.
I'm also a Navy veteran,
Okay.
was a licensed general contractor up in the
Okay.
Northeast.
All right.
I worked in the power tool industry for one of the
Okay.
largest power tool manufacturers in the world. And then I'm here. And that's it. Five simple steps in my
All
entire
right.
life.
Thanks for being on the show, Mike. It was great. I feel like I know you better.
There you
Uh,
go. Absolutely.
what type of degree were you going for in college?
Wow. You asked a loaded question.
It's my job.
So I'm the kind of person who likes to think he could probably win on Jeopardy, unless the
Okay.
question was about like French art or something like that.
Okay.
I started my college career in civil engineering. I changed after a year to mechanical engineering. I changed to electrical engineering.
Okay.
And then I left school to enlist in the Navy to fulfill my father's dying wish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my father was a Navy veteran of 23 years,
Okay.
and he passed when I was 18.
Okay.
And so his dying wish at that time was that I would go into the military. So despite going to school 2.5 years, I just had this sort of, burning sense that I didn't or was not fulfilling the promise that I had made to him. And so I left school, enlisted, and so I served 4 years in the Navy. There's interesting stories to that background as well, but ended up being stationed with the Marines for most of my time between San Diego and Okinawa, Japan. When I left, I went back to school and went down a road still sort of, I guess, science and technically based, I
Yeah.
went back to school in the Boston area for biology, and then biology with a med tech specialization, and then exercise physiology, sports medicine, and finished with a marketing degree.
Jeez
And I,
Louise. And
yeah,
did you did you have a bent for school education coming out of high school? Were you a good student?
I've always been a I enjoy learning. I enjoy learning new things. And every one of those changes in the focus had a weird little side story to it that's not worth telling for this. But the marketing degree came in where someone in my life who I consider a mentor finally said to me, Mike, you have to finish your degree. It doesn't matter what it is, you need to finish it. And so I
Yeah.
went back and I finished it. So this is why I say, and I like to joke that I could win on Jeopardy. I have a lot of education in a lot of areas um, where I was very close to a degree in all of those things. And
Sure.
all it does for me now is make me really a pain in the neck to deal with in a conversation because I know enough to bother someone who has that degree, but not enough to be them. So
Okay. All right.
I have fun with it.
And do you
So
play Jeopardy? Do you enjoy a little Jeopardy?
I used to watch Jeopardy every
Sure.
night. But I was sort of the Alex Trebek fan. I don't know that I could deal with the new version of it, but I do like the premise of it and I love just the knowledge of it. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
Did you like Will Ferrell's depiction of Alec Trebek on Saturday Night Live?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. We're on the same page, buddy.
Great.
Like Trivial Pursuit, Jeopardy, not my strong suit. Yahtzee, Uno.
Okay.
Well, poker. Like if we want to get poker and cribbage.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm teaching my son. He's 10. He loves to play poker and it's poker's interesting, but it's interesting to teach someone poker, especially if you're showing them your secrets, how you play, which you never really do. You
Right.
don't want to show your hand, so to speak. But he's 10, like, and I want him to play good. So I'm like showing him, like, hey, man, it's not always about bluffing. Bluffing, it's not just bluffing. There's a whole, like, you could write a chapter on bluffing. So that's neither here nor there. You were so you had a lot of education in school. Marketing piques my interest the most. I think if I went back to school, it'd probably be for marketing. That sounds like it would be interesting to study. But like most 20-year-olds, we don't know what the hell we really want to do. We're doing something for mom or dad, or if you're lucky enough to know what you want to do at that age, that's great. But you did graduate with what was the degree? I'm sorry.
A bachelor's degree in marketing.
Okay, bachelor's in marketing. So you did go
Mhm.
that direction. Right out of school, did you get a job with this major tool company? Do you want to say?
Yeah, so I right out of school, so after getting my degree, I went back into construction since construction is what paid for my degree. And I
Yeah,
realized that I really love building things.
sure.
And I think that there's probably a group of people who do any specific job simply because it pays the bills, and there are people who do things because they love doing it. And one of
Sure.
the things that I really loved about construction was that at the end of any given day, you could see what you did. You didn't just, it wasn't some administrative position where you took a pile of papers and moved it from the left side of your desk to the right side of your desk. You could actually see, we framed the entire first floor today. We put the roof on. We sided the house. We set the windows. Whatever the project was, you showed up at the beginning of the day, and unless something drastically went wrong, at the end of the day, the job site looked different
Yeah.
than it did in the morning. And that's a really, really gratifying way to go through life as you feel that you did something with your time. So
Yeah.
I realized that at that point that I really, really loved construction. And I actually kept going down that path for a while as a um, builder up in the Boston area, built custom homes and cabinets and staircases and things like that. The company was successful, but it did get to a point where I had an epiphany when I was in my mid 30s. So the company got to where I had about eight guys working for me. And I used to say that every now and then they wouldn't call out sick, they would call out well. If there was a lot of snowfall in
Yeah.
winter, half the guys would say, you know what? There was some snow up north, I'm going skiing.
Yeah.
And it was on one of these days when I was at a job and needed to set a 4 inch by 13 inch parallam. It was about, I don't know, 22 feet long. And so I was determined to set this beam by myself because it had to be set to keep going. And so I had two ladders set up, one on either side of the room. And I, got the beam up on my shoulder and I walked it up the ladder and put it into the beam pocket and went down, went up the other ladder. And about halfway up the other ladder, I thought to myself, wow, I can't picture myself doing this 20 years from now. I love it, but I don't know that I'd physically be able to, put a 22-foot beam on a shoulder and walk it up a ladder. Because this was not a 6-foot ladder. This was, this was about 15 feet up in the room.
I
And
like I like this. I like this where this is going. That's pretty powerful. And you're around 30 years old.
yeah, so I just thought to myself, you know what? I love doing this, but I'm a pretty smart guy. There's got to be something I could do that would marry, intelligence with love of construction. I started looking around for opportunities, and what that involved was opening a copy of the Boston Globe, paper newspaper, and looking in the classifieds and finding a printed ad, which you'd probably never find in today's world. You'd go on Indeed or something to find a job.
Yeah.
This was in the newspaper, and it was a new program that Bosch Power Tools had introduced for I forget what they called it to begin with. The title changed so many times, but basically job site specialists. They wanted people with industry experience to be able to go talk to the end user and help them solve their application issues and recommend the best tool and accessory to do that. There were a couple of other power tool companies that had something I would say was similar, but those jobs were entry-level jobs for people just to run around and create noise. And the way Bosch executed it was you had to have walked the walk, not just talk the talk. And it was a minimum of 10 years of actual trade experience that you had to be
Okay.
able to demonstrate to qualify for the job.
Let me pause you a little bit. I want some clarifiers. You end up like owning the business that you came in as like an entry level laborer type person for a company, a construction company that did all
Construction.
aspects of building. You must have had
And
a cool boss though,
yes,
right? Okay.
yes, yeah. So I had a true sort of New England down to earth boss. Was willing to teach you as much as he was willing to throw a hammer at you. But this is all good.
Yeah.
Learn the trade from the bottom up. Learn the trade at a time when we still used hand saws instead of power saws and still nailed
Oh.
every nail by hand before nail guns came out. So again, kind of dating myself, but learn the trade the old-fashioned way. Fast forward, yes. So I went from laborer, carpenter, a sort of lead carpenter to owning my own business. And
And
so
then the real quick, the engineering aspect of construction probably appealed to your sensibility.
absolutely. And that ties it into the architecture and as I went into, business for myself, it helps to understand even if you're going to design a deck or a patio or a structure, it's really helpful from an engineering background to be able to calculate those loads to go do because you understand the concept and the math behind doing it. So I had this epiphany and I looked for a job, found this job with Bosch, was very successful. This time a dig in Boston. For anyone who doesn't know about the Big Dig, about 11-year construction project. I think it started out as a 2-year project, took about 11. But it was a tunnel underneath Boston. So you can imagine the complexity of that. It was an amazing project, but gave me a great job site to go to every day for a couple of years. There were plenty of application issues to be solved on the big dig. And I was successful enough that the corporate office recruited me to come to Chicago to work. And at that point,
how did you get to take part in sort of engineering problems with the big dig? If
well, I
you're
didn't engineer anything there. At that point, I was with
okay,
Bosch, and trust me,
okay.
they had real engineers for that.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
didn't ask Mike to solve the issue of how do you sink a tunnel under Boston Harbor and
No.
get it to connect. All that
No.
stuff was in like that was in my own construction business.
Fascinating project though for you to go check out. Now,
Absolutely.
did you like bug the engineers while you were there? Did you get to meet any of those guys?
I met a couple of the engineers. I did meet one of the engineers that was tied to the Boston Harbor Ted Williams Tunnel project. The Ted Williams Tunnel project is one of the first ones where they formed and poured the concrete tunnel sections on land, floated them into the water, and sank them and joined them underwater, which
Insane.
is amazing to me.
I like those. I'll get wrapped into those documentaries too, like the Hoover Dam. Like that one blows my mind. Like the amount of
Yeah,
concrete on that sucker
yeah,
and how they had to pour it and cure it.
yeah,
And not only that, but the contractor that was running the Hoover Dam was like he was like a not just a slave driver, like literally, but like he came in under budget and ahead of schedule. Like he was a badass for lack of a better term.
yeah. The big dig didn't go under budget. It didn't go according to schedule. In fact, at one point, they put a big billboard up in Boston that actually said, if Rome were built in a day, we would hire their contractors.
See,
So
there's
it
good
it
marketing.
became a big joke about how long it was taking. But as I said, the complexity of tunneling underneath one of the oldest cities in the country with the country's oldest subway system, and that it's a seaside city. So you have to navigate between skyscrapers on top of you, getting underneath us the oldest subway system, but not going into the harbor becomes a bit of an engineering
Yeah.
challenge. So
Yeah. Super cool. You went to
Chicago,
Chicago.
Chicago. So I lived in Chicago for about 11 years, and that was with Bosch, and was brought in, was put in charge of this job site specialist program and helped to grow that up to a team of 50 people.
Okay.
Was successful enough with that that I was asked by Bosch in Germany to put together a documented process of how to build this kind of program, and then went to 5 countries in Europe to help them
Okay.
implement the same kind of program.
Let me pause you because Bosch at this point is seeing that this is where Mike Ventura starts to shine, it seems like, from a story standpoint. Your maybe intelligence or knack of getting things done or whatever is turning heads. So, how did you go from this maybe entry level sales position at Boss to traveling to Europe to do bigger and better things?
I I think it comes down to everything in life. This could be sports or any given job. It's really just taking advantage of the opportunities that you're given. So
Mm,
fortunately, I had managers who were willing to, open up doors, for me to go fill. And I guess I could have failed as easily as I
okay.
succeeded. But you have to be given those opportunities and you have to take advantage of them when they come. So, for me, you said at the outset that I like to stay busy. I had a previous manager who once told me that unless Mike has 13 things on his plate, I don't consider him busy. And if he takes one off his plate, he gets one put on his plate. So I do like to have multiple projects going at once. I like to move them along at equal speeds. Anyone who works with me or for me knows that everything is top priority. So if they ask me if I could prioritize all the projects, they're all number one.
Real quick, do you have characters that inspire you in that capacity? I think of like people like Steve Jobs, or I mean, even Elon Musk. Like what that guy must wake up to on any given day and how you approach the day and what you choose to get done in that day. Because at a certain point, it becomes about how much can I achieve in a day? And what do I want to achieve? And prioritizing the important things to the least important things. Even on a small business level, I have to prioritize the time to do a podcast. And hopefully one day I'll get so busy that I can't do this anymore. Like, you know what I mean? I
Yes.
enjoy it. I enjoy it, but there's certain aspects of it that I could farm out. But I mean, and just like I glean inspiration from certain people. Is there anybody that comes to mind for you, or people that you look to for some sort of guiding light?
Both of those people that you just mentioned kind of fall into that category. Elon Musk, from a pure entrepreneurial, inventorship mindset, I think is amazing what he's been able to push forward and accomplish. And whether that was his own mind or whether it was his ideas and then pushing other people who could go
Yeah,
make it happen, I think that's amazing. It inspires you to do those things. The key is, can you get the people surrounding you to help you push it forward? Because you can't do it all by yourself. But you have to be able to present that vision of where are we going and what happens when we get there and what's next after that. And I think, part of it is, never resting on your laurels and, always, my approach has always been, how do you stay in front of all the other companies that are chasing you? So it's fine to
mm,
either become a company that's number one within your category or take over a company that's number one, but know that everyone else is nipping at your heels forever. And how do you stay in front of them? And so
yeah,
my mentality is always, okay, that's great. We accomplished that. What's next?
yeah,
And that's what keeps the team going crazy. You mentioned Tabitha earlier. I'm sure that you know from her how busy she is, and
yeah,
I'm proud to say that most of her activity is stemming from everything that I'm putting on her and her marketing team, and they're doing a great job with
yeah,
it. But part of it is the rapid expansion and the growth of the AMES branded companies as we try to drive forward. As the industry changes, as the market changes, it's important that we don't stay, stuck in our 85-year-old legacy and history and think that will sustain us going forward
yeah,
because it was a much slower evolving market in 1930s and 40s and 50s than it is
yeah.
today, where every year things change dramatically.
Well, we didn't have AI back then. I've been
That's
I've
right.
been I've been watching I've been nervous about AI. I've been really watching it closely. I could go in and change my website very simply with AI. I could go into Chat
Yes.
GPT and figure it out.
Mhm.
I'm nervous about it though. Like
Yeah.
I don't want it getting into my stuff. But that's like my own weird like caution about it. I
Mhm.
don't think there's a choice really. We're just going to have to succumb. We could talk about that a little bit, but it makes me think like that you have not only big shoes to fill, but you have to stay out in front of, you said it, these companies.
AI is amazing with what it can do. It is just mind blowing what it can do, but boy, is it scary.
Back to Bosch. We can
Yeah.
spend a little bit more. We can spend a little bit more time
Good.
there, but I do want
Yeah.
to jump over to like that
Agent
transition from
Taker. Yeah.
Bosch. Yeah,
So that actually, so that was my success with Bosch. I had the job site specialist team, then sort of moved back into a sales role where I was leading the industrial sales team, which is the team of salespeople really calling on the traditional trade channels. So staff to dealers, all your typical tool shops, everything except the home centers and the Grangers of the world. And this was going into the downturn in 2008, 9, 10. And in 2010, I was contacted by a former manager at Bosch, the same person who I said I consider like a mentor. And he had left Bosch and was the CEO of AMES. And he recruited me or asked me to come and take over Tape Tech and try to pull Tape Tech out of the downturn and the situation that the whole company was in. And so I left Bosch and I came to Tape Tech in 2010,
At
and
that
I've been here
time,
since.
you were like, what the hell's tape tech?
It's funny you say that. And I'll tell your audience because I'm going to say this was none of this was prepared. So I'm gonna circle back now.
Okay.
I had about 12, 13 years in construction. I had 13 years at Bosch, where, I was not in the office per se. I was a job site specialist for the first part of it. I pride myself on owning way too many tools. And then, of course, living in that world, being on job sites where even seeing and experiencing tools outside of the trades that I myself performed. When I came to Tape Tech and AMES and I visited the office the first time, there was a piece of Baker staging sitting in the office for some weird reason. And there were a bunch of what I'll call tools sitting on it. And I asked someone what they were, and they said, those are our tools. And I remember lifting it up and saying, how on earth does this put tape and compound on the wall?
So obviously we're talking about the bazooka or the tape machine or
Any
whatever you
of
want to call it.
them, any of them.
I know.
So
I know.
as a
I felt the
person,
same way. I was like, what is that? I'd never seen a bazooka. I remember I was
no,
like, what in the world? Or to be even more remedial, somebody walking stilts kind of blew my mind too,
yeah,
as it does most people. But
except for the circus.
yeah,
But so, so despite having done a lot of drywall finishing myself as a builder,
sure.
I used hawk and trowel, hawk and
Yeah.
knife, and I saw these tools and I was like, I'd never seen them before. Now,
Yeah.
it made a little sense for where I geographically was building. There's not tract building up in New England. All
Sure.
my building was custom homes. There's still blue board skim coat going on up there. So there's not the need for the productivity in drywall finishing that there is in a lot of other parts of the country. But still, I said, okay, so I'll give it that. But then I'm at Bosch and I'm on all these job sites, not only like around the country, but around the world. And I've never even seen these tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was eye-opening. And to this day, we go into markets even in the US and we demonstrate these tools and customers will say, that's amazing. How long have these been around? Since 1939. So it's amazing that more people are not aware of these tools because they do help you finish drywall like
Yeah.
3.5 times faster
Of course.
than finishing by hand. So
Well, but the engineering too behind it you must have gotten excited about like, oh, well, and like kind of like I am, like these guys, even like the dudes that spun off and created their own companies with these tools. I'm impressed. I'm like, I do a colored mud system. Like that's relatively easy compared to building a bazooka. Like, let's
right,
face it,
yes,
it's like, wow, it just impresses me. My grandfather made a drill press out of junk parts. Like he was kind of an idiot savant, and that
uh,
thing ran smooth. But it's kind of like that old school mentality of like not only just ingenuity, but also the creativity to be like it kind of fascinates me.
right. So it was eye-opening, and that the fact that I had so much background in construction and tools and had never even seen these tools. And that's what I always kind of stress to people. Guys, this isn't that I'd never used the tools or owned them, and I thought I owned every tool in the world. I'd never seen these tools. So that was and has been a guiding premise in how we rebuilt Tape Tech into the number one brand of tools was this premise of stop assuming that everyone knows about these tools or that they even understand how they work together as a system. And that, I think, was a little bit of a problem for AIMS in general in the past. There was this assumption that everyone just knew these tools, and that they even knew how you put a set together, and that you have to have a handle to go with a finishing box, that you have to have a gooseneck to fill a taper. There was no educational material
Right.
about that within the company. And so when I started, I leaned on the fact that I thought I knew everything and I clearly know nothing. And we need to educate people. We need videos. We need catalogs. We need to explain this system so people don't just go buy a bazooka and walk out of a store without a pump and a gooseneck, or they have just a hunk of metal that's not going to do anything. From a tape tech perspective, and now, at a bigger level from just Ames Tool Corporation, there's a big focus always on the educational aspect, because anyone who's in the building trades usually has an inquisitive side to them and wants to learn more. And I don't want to get sexist now, but it'll be against guys anyway. So, guys typically don't like to ask questions. They want to pretend that they either know it already or I'll figure it out. Don't even worry about
I
it.
would take it even further, though. I would say the drywall industry can be really sharp and closed.
Hmm.
And what a challenge, not just coming up with these tools, but taking them to the market and having the knowledge of, like, when you're around a tool for 10 years, you're like, and by that time it was whatever, 1950, you're like, it's so second nature. But people, you're like showing somebody the iPhone for the first time and it's blowing their mind.
But it's amazing that we've gone other places in the world for demonstrations or trade shows, and we'll have people come out to the show and they'll yell from the audience, "I've been using your tools for 10 years and I love your tools," or whatever. And they say that they know how to run the tools, and they'll ask if they can come up to the stage and do something, and it'll be amazing. They will be amazed at how the tools are run in a very clean, neat manner. They say that the compound gets all over them, and when we ask them to run the tool, we'll find that they're running the bazooka backwards. It still gets tape and compound on the wall. It just happens to get compound on them as well. And so it's a great example of, okay, guys aren't stupid. They're going to figure something out on how something works. It might take them a lot of trial and error, but here's a person been running these tools for 10 years and is running it backwards. Still says it's faster than finishing by hand, but boy, we got him turned around. He was like lightning because he
Sure.
already knew how to run it incorrectly. Now you get him to run it correctly. And so even when they're using the tools, it doesn't mean that they're running it in the most efficient way. And so again, this guiding premise of we have the expertise, we need to spread this and stop assuming that even professional drywall finishers are running these tools in the most optimal way. We need to constantly give them tips and tricks about how to make these easier to run, more ergonomic to run, more efficient.
Yeah.
And the response to that, of course, has been really, really strong. And I do believe that we are looked to as the experts within the industry, and have the best support that can give the answers to those questions, offer regular training, have a training department, of course. And we're
Yeah.
still trying to build more video content and everything else because you can't possibly get face to face with everyone that you'd like to get face to face with.
Yeah.
So from a tape tech side, that's been really one of the few, guiding pillars of how we drive the business is education, education, education,
I
and
like it.
support for the back end. And then the other side was, how do you go back to that premise that I told you, sort of came from that Bosch mentality of, are you developing things that solve problems? Or are you just making a new version of something that's already out there? And so, if you followed Tape Tech or Ames at all, you'll see there's been a lot of innovation over the last 10 to 15 years. Lots of patented products, lots of innovation that become a little bit more niche products. But if they solve a specific application problem, then that's the goal. How do you put yourself into the contractor's shoes and say, well, you know what? When I'm in a broom closet, I can't use your finishing box anymore because your shortest handle is 34 inches long. It
Right.
doesn't fit. And
Yeah.
that's where the wizard handle came from. It was
Yeah.
how do you finish in a shoebox, right? How do you finish band joints, at 9 or 10 feet up on the ceiling, without having to be on stilts constantly? Well, you give them a handle that the head can swivel so the box can swivel.
Both those tools are cool, by the way. Real quick, which tool over the last 10 years has made you sort of the most excited as far as a new tool that solves a problem? Since we're on this thread,
It actually would have to be the wizard
yeah,
handle, and I would give the credit for this handle to Mark Wilson, who I'm sure you've spoken to many times. Mark is in
yeah,
charge of our training department. Mark has been using automatic taping and finishing tools for nearly 40 years. You mentioned second nature. They are second nature to Mark. And Mark always had this idea prior to my coming on board for this short handle that he kept calling a knife, a knife box handle. That's how he always presented it, knife box handle.
yeah.
And I never understood what he meant. Simply, maybe it was because of the way that he was saying it. I finally said, "Can you mock one up? I have no idea what you're even talking about." And he went home and he took like a 4 inch or a 5 inch knife and he bent the blade and he screwed that to the back of a finishing box. He said, "This is what I'm talking about." I said, "Oh,
Uh,
oh, it's a box handle
yeah,
from a knife handle." He said, "Yes.
yeah.
Why didn't you just say that?" And I would have
A
got it.
knife box handle. Yeah, yeah.
And then, well, I would have pronounced it like a knife box handle.
Yes.
So, so we took this, and what was amazing with it was we of course went into it just thinking, well, the upside of this handle is you can finish in a shoebox. Like you're in a broom closet, you're in a small space. But what we learned as we went along, and we learned this again from the field testing, the other big use and the big benefit of this was a new worker could learn how to run a finishing box in seconds because they didn't have to concern themselves with the brake
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
brake handle,
Yes.
right? They just had to push on the pressure plate and push
Smart.
buttons.
Okay.
So they came to us with that and they said, listen, from our perspective, when we get a new guy, usually for the first 30 days, he's just mixing compound. He's useless other than carrying bags and buckets around.
I
And
feel like
this makes him productive.
you should have called it the Mark handle.
Now, we could have called it the Mark One handle. I do always say that it's amazing that this was one of the last handles to be made. It should have been the first finishing box handle ever.
I didn't think I've never thought of that aspect of a training tool for the box.
It's
But that makes
amazing.
perfect sense. Like, duh,
It
put
quickly
them up.
teaches you
Yeah.
it quickly teaches you how to get the box on the wall and off the wall without the complexity of the break. The other thing that we learned, so we got ourselves out of the closet, and we had other companies say, all our guys are experienced, they can run a brake handle, it's okay. But when they get on scaffolding and they're up higher, the problem is even with a 34-inch handle, the back of the handle hits the scaffold as they're trying to move along the wall. And the
Yeah.
wizard solved that problem, that they could be up on the scaffold and run safely. So a lot of the bigger companies viewed it as a safety feature for them, that they're not worrying about a longer box handle being up there. So we found other application issues that it was solving, despite the fact we started with how do you finish in a small space?
Fair
So that
enough.
one was a really exciting product that
Yeah.
still is a bestseller because it should be in every finisher's toolbox. It's never
Yeah.
going to be their primary handle, but it's a necessary tool that it's amazing. It took until the 20 teens to
Yeah.
come out.
Let's go back to you come to Tape Tech, you're blown away, you've never seen these tools. They want you to run this. Somebody's like, hey, he's smart, man. The guy's smart. He's going to come
Mhm.
in. We're in an economic downturn. He's going to turn things around. You got to meet him. You come in and what year? So you're saying that's like '09, maybe
2010.
2010. Okay.
2010.
Yeah, it happens. It normally happens to me because I drink so much coffee.
Well, I drink a lot of tea, and
Okay.
so
Yep.
I've been here in the office since 4:30. I'm on about cup number seven, and
Okay. You're not
and
a
I'm
coffee
old.
guy. You're a tea
Um,
guy.
I have had one sip of coffee in my entire life. Yeah,
I'm sorry. I
yeah.
am not.
Well,
I just got some chai tea, like mushroom tea,
mhm.
and it like like a lion's mane, like that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And
I'm a black tea guy. Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Like an English breakfast or Earl
yeah,
Grey or something. Yeah.
interesting.
Definitely.
You're a minority in the United States, being a sort of a tea person, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It was here's my quick coffee story. So when I was in boot camp for the Navy, they give you um short breaks, during the training. And they they used to call them Coke and smoke breaks. And so this is where a lot of people, like at least in the past, I can't say it now, but where many people start to smoke is in the military and basic training, because if you didn't smoke, your break was shorter because you
okay.
only got the Coke part of
Well, they were
the training.
pushing cigarettes too. They were giving cases of cartons of cigarettes
Yeah.
to the soldiers to get them hooked.
Well, I'm not so old that I'm back in 1942
Oh,
here.
okay, but like that was brilliant marketing by the cigarette companies
Yes,
back in the
yes.
day.
So I didn't choose to smoke because my father died of cancer because of smoking. So I was never
Smart.
going to smoke anyway. But I tried coffee because that's what everyone was actually having. I don't know why they called it Coke and smoke, because everyone drank coffee. So I tried coffee like everyone else. I took one sip, I spit it out. I was like, this is
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
And I had people say, well, you have to put cream and sugar in it. I said, then what's the coffee? I mean, that's just cream and sugar
yeah,
then. You're just drinking
yeah.
sugar. So anyway, I've never had it since. But I do enjoy tea, and it just caught up to me there. So
You know,
thank you for that short story.
my funny story about coffee is that I saw people putting cream and sugar in their coffee, and I was like, "What a headache that is." I I only wanted to drink coffee because I thought it was cool, and that's what adults did. This is how naive I was.
Right.
And I was like, I know I'm going to drink coffee in the future. I don't want to have to deal with the cream and sugar every time. So I'm going to learn how to drink it black. This is like a porthole into my brain.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
purely for efficiency, like because I like
Right.
efficiencies.
Yeah.
And I still drink it black. I will not drink it any other way now. I mean,
Interesting.
I'll have a latte occasionally, but this is black coffee.
Interesting.
And truth be known, black coffee is actually not too bad for you.
Right. There,
You know,
there are a lot of benefits to caffeine in general, but
right. Uh,
interesting story on the wizard. Let me wrap up.
yeah, let's go back to the wizard. Sure, we
Sorry
can
about
spend.
another reason or another thing that I guess supports why it was such an exciting product, despite the fact it is as simple as it gets. Uh, while we have a lot of patented products here at Ames and Tape Tech, the Wizard patent is our most defended patent worldwide.
Ooh, this sounds
Hands
juicy.
down, hands down. We have had to defend this legally no less than 8 or 9 times from
Really?
our competitors and other companies in other countries as well as the US. Everyone has tried to mimic or copy
Yeah.
this handle, which just really reinforces what a missing piece of the finishing puzzle
Oh
a
yeah.
short handle was.
Funny.
So
And
it's
has
just essential.
anybody succeeded in creating a tool that's close that got around your patent?
No,
No.
no, no.
And
So
you're like, and like they're like they don't even want to try because you're like they know you'll just fight it tooth and nail. They're
yes,
like, screw that.
yeah. So
Love it.
that's my wizard story.
That's good. I was gonna ask, I have down here, who are you working for when you come to Tape Tech at that time? Who's and the head of AMES, and maybe just the climate of the of this company at that time,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
your from your
So,
perspective.
boy, it's a great question. And I'm going to say again, Nick, for all your listeners, we didn't pre-plan this call at all, but you are asking some really spot-on questions
Well,
about
thank you.
the development of things and the companies and myself in general.
I've
Earlier,
always had kind of a fascination with I never thought about journalism. I like certain podcasts for certain reasons. If you ever get a chance, listen to Guy Raz. I don't know if you have. It's called How I Built This, and he just interviews like the CEO of Patagonia and Starbucks, and he asks them very plain questions, just like I'm asking you about, like, how did this come to be? It's very interesting. This is about Mike Ventura. It's not
yeah,
necessarily about Ames.
right.
But I really appreciate the compliment. But I do enjoy it. I enjoy that. And I looked at those interviewers and I thought to myself, oh, I think I could do that. And the drywall industry needed that, I
Yes.
think, badly.
Mhm.
So that's neither here
So
nor there.
again, this is an easy answer. So earlier you asked me at Bosch, like, how do you go from kind of an entry-level sales position to traveling around the world implementing
Yeah,
this program and presenting at Bosch in Germany? And well, I think my answer there was that when people make things available to you and open doors for you and give you the opportunity, you need to take it.
good answer.
The pivotal manager at Bosch who allowed those opportunities was the CEO at Ames. And he's the person who recruited me to come here to take the.
Okay. Okay.
So it's one and the same.
Yeah. Serendipitous.
And so that gentleman's name is Andy Reid, not the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
Um, Different spelling of the last name, but a great guy, a great manager, a great leader, and I consider him a mentor and a friend. We still talk regularly, and he brought me in and gave me free reign to like fix tape tech. And for your listeners that are not familiar, in 2008, Ames went into bankruptcy. So at the time of the downturn, things fell off the face of the earth so quickly that Ames went into bankruptcy. And in summer of 2010 is when it emerged from bankruptcy. And in October is when I came to Tape Tech. So my charge was to quote fix Tape Tech, to pull it out of the gutter and make something of it. And we did that through all those means that I told you about. Teaching people about the tools and how to use them and growing the range and solving problems and fixing quality issues and better customer service. But that's where it all came from, was the opportunity to actually make that happen. And like I said, I've been fortunate that I've had managers that have allowed it. I think performance begets those kinds of things as well, because I'll say that I'm also fortunate to have my boss currently, who's the CEO of GMS, has an equally strong ability and skill to remain hands off, always be available for help and guidance or feedback. But if you've already demonstrated the ability to succeed and to drive different kinds of initiatives, I think they're smart to really stay hands off and just be there for you instead of trying to guide you constantly. And it's something that, beginning with Andy Reid, I tried to really build into my management style. And like I always tell this funny story, and I hope he listens to this podcast when it's on. Andy is the kind of leader who, if you were at the top of a river and you were going to go whitewater rafting, Andy's not getting in the boat with you. He's happy to kick the raft into the water,
Okay.
And if halfway down the rapids push you ashore, he'll kick you back into the water. But ultimately, his direction's going to be, I need you to meet me at the bottom of the river 3 days from now, and we'll have lunch. And that's it. And how you get down there is really up to you. And if you need help along the way, he's more than happy to give you the help. Other than that, he doesn't want to micromanage it. Uh, John Turner, CEO, GMS, my boss now, same way. Infinite experience, could absolutely talk to you every single day, but chooses to say that I put you in this position for a reason. You have an opportunity to do this. I'm here for you if you need it. Other than that, your charge is to grow the business, gain market share, introduce solutions. And so really that's what's been formative for me, but not only for, personal success or driving towards sales targets, but really in the kind of manager or leader that I am with my team, I do the same thing. I try to put them in a position to succeed.
Yeah,
I help them along the way. I have high expectations, there's no doubt about that.
of course.
But I give them the support that they need and, clear obstacles out of their way. And, together we get down that rapid river and reach the bottom. So that's
A great analogy. I got to work with some of the Tape Tech crew in Dallas, and I was really impressed. Like, just the teamwork, honestly, is what stuck out to me. How everybody worked together. They're building the booth. They're breaking down the booth. There's barbecue stuff. there's there's pallets, and just everybody working together. And it's frustrating. It's the end of the show. Everybody wants to get out of there, but it was really cool. And Robbie just sort of leading from the front. Like, it was cool. It really
Yeah.
was. I'm not just saying that. I'm not blowing smoke. Like,
Yeah.
I observe these things, especially
Mhm.
when I'm in a team sort of setting. I played collegiate soccer. My son plays soccer. I'm very big on the team aspect of things. Um, cool. So at that time it was Andy Reid. You come in, and obviously you turn things around. It came up on the episode with Robbie that you guys knew each other from Bosch. So I guess we could fast forward a little bit, but that's quite a gap from 2010 to 22-ish when Robbie comes over. What happens during that time with
Yeah.
you sort of at the helm of Tape Tech?
So I had Tape Tech, and Tape Tech was virtually like a one-man show during the entire time. I was sales, I was marketing, I was web development, I was IP. I've I've handled all the intellectual property, trademarks, and patents for the company since I came into the company.
You're an expert.
Um, this
Trade.
goes back to Jeopardy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, that trademark patenting stuff is thick,
this
but
is my
you
fascination
you
with
probably enjoyed it.
learning, and
Yeah,
oh, I love it. I love
yeah.
it. If I were to become a lawyer, I would be a patent and trademark lawyer.
Well, and also, fun fact, patent law is the most lucrative, I hear.
So, so it was a one-man show, and for my first whatever 11 years with the company, we were private equity owned. And so I think private equity is a great thing, but private equity is also they don't like to invest a lot of money into their holdings that they're not going to realize the return on it very quickly. They're not in
Sure,
it, you know, for years from now. And so anytime I ask for another person to be added to Tape Deck, it's always turned down. No, 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 no. You're doing just fine, Mike. You don't seem to need anybody. You're making your
sure.
number every year. You're growing the brand. Why do you need somebody?
It's like because you're exhausted.
So that's right. Well, I don't sleep, but so all of Tape Tech sort of fell on me, and that was fine because again, having the autonomy to drive every part of the business is exciting for someone like me.
Sure.
and it fueled the ability to run as fast as you can run. So back to my whole thing about keeping in
Okay.
front of competitors by running faster. Well, if you're controlling all of that, you run as fast as you want, and you're not really waiting on other people in most times. So that was great. Uh, Finally, when GMS acquired AMES at that time, uh, about a year later, there was a changing of the guard as far as the CEO, and I was, fortunate to be considered for this position. And I think John Turner, saw, I think, the success that I had had, but also the very interesting background of every CEO in recent history, meaning decades for this company anyway, never had any trade background. They were executives coming from
Okay.
other industries where they didn't have any actual experience other than running things. And I think he saw the value in, having someone who not only is from internally within the company, which there was a track record of all the CEOs coming from outside of AMES
Okay.
and being put in. Not only that, but if you went one step deeper, saying like, well, he's not only from internal, he's internal within the trades. Like he really
Yeah.
understands the mindset of a contractor and what's important to the contractor, not just
Yeah.
what's important to the company. And so again, I was fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time and have enough experience and have
I-
demonstrated success.
is it something you wanted though? I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
in your heart of
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you were drooling for the
I
opportunity.
was I was upset when the two previous CEOs were put into place. I felt that I should have been the CEO two
Oh,
CEOs
okay. All
before.
right.
I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
In fact, with the final CEO just prior to myself, uh, during that time we had some upheaval within the company, particularly within the operations group, and it was really impacting Tape Tech. And I went to the CEO and I said, I can fix operations. Put me in charge of operations. And what I meant by it was, let's find someone to take over Tape Tech and put me in charge of operations.
Yeah.
What he heard was, Mike wants to run Tape Tech and operations. And so I kept Tape Tech and he gave me operations as well.
There's no way you were like accepting that deal. You were like, no way, man. I gotta have Robbie.
No choice. So I did accept that deal. And
Okay.
so I had both tape tech as well as operations, and operations here at Ames involves not only, building the tape tech tools, but also maintaining the fleet of Ames rental tools. So it's, quite a complex operation back there. And it involves global sourcing of parts and it involves reconditioning tools, lots of supply chain logistics stuff going back and forth. So I had both pieces. But
This was your introduction to the world of Ames, though, correct?
exactly. This got me more on the AIM side of the business. So instead of looking at AIMS from the tape tech side and saying, oh, there's a bunch of AIM stores over there and they rent tools and everything else, now I'm in up to my eyeballs in it,
Yeah.
trying to fix it. And but I'll admit, I knowingly went into it to one, help tape tech because the operational issues were hurting and making challenges for tape tech. But two, as a resume builder to get the experience from an operational side of things. It certainly was a resume builder, more towards the C-suite side of things. So you
Okay.
wouldn't just say, well, I have a sales and marketing background. And, so the operations part, especially here where it's quite complex, was a big part. And it was a big part of why I was put into the seat at that time. So at that time, when the former CEO left, which is about a year after the acquisition by GMS, I did, of course, at that point, being put in charge of the whole company, I finally got the opportunity to backfill myself in tape tech. And
Absolutely.
that's where Robbie came in. But yes, we do have a background from Bosch. Robbie was actually one of my first managers at Bosch. And
I
now I'm his manager.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And you guys are buds. So it works out. It works out pretty well. Robbie's a great guy. If you're listening, you can listen to my interview with Robbie Worrell and Mark Wilson and Carolina. So I'm just working my way through the chain of command at Ames. You guys are all great.
Yeah.
Ames Tape Tech has sponsored the Drywall Podcast. You've supported me in what I'm up to here. I appreciate that. And it's interesting. And I think it's interesting to me. Hopefully it's interesting to our listeners. That is very cool. The question that always keeps coming to my mind was, did you implement the same strategies with Ames when you sort of took over operations that you implemented with Tape Tech to sort of steer the ship, to use the boat, the Navy analogy a little more, in the right
Yeah.
direction? You were using the same sort of strategies, and maybe what were those one and two strategies?
Right. So I'll talk about it in two different parts, Nick. First of all, so if you say from an operations standpoint, that's, really operations is nuts and bolts stuff. And the reason I was so confident in my ability to fix operations, despite the fact that's not my background, was my argument was I can build a house, and that's a process, right? You can't put the roof on the house before you put a foundation in, right? And everything needs to be, straight, square, and plumb and level going up, or you have problems at the top.
Yeah.
And so from an operations side, I fixed it from the bottom up. And you mentioned earlier, uh, feet on the ground, when I just said that I was in Europe and I was at the warehouse doing inventory and everything else.
Yeah.
This I will never not be a tradesperson at heart or just a hard worker. My hands are dirty all the time.
Sure.
And so from an operations side, what I did for the first 60 days of trying to fix operations was I worked in operations. I was out back every day, all day, to try to learn what was going wrong instead of trying to sit in the front office dictating what must be going wrong.
So I can imagine at a company like Ames, dating so far back, there's like cobwebs on machines, that maybe need to be retooled or just taken offline, and like all of that. So you're maybe running into some of that stuff.
It's really starting at the bottom to learn everyone's job. Let
Sure.
me be in their shoes. Let me build a tool. Let me recondition a tool for rental. Let me work in shipping and see what they're challenged with in packing and processing orders,
Yeah.
picking order, everything. How do you live it before you judge what must be going wrong? You should go live it, and you might get a totally different perspective about what you thought was the problem. And you find out that instead of fixing 10 things, if you fixed one, the other nine would fix themselves. And the only way to do that is to get into it. And I think
Yeah.
as a leader, you earn the respect of your team as well when you show that you truly do lead from the front. You are willing to get in the trenches. You're not the 15th century general who rides on the horse behind the troops, just telling them to go into battle and get slaughtered. So that was the operations side. All I did was implement processes from a building perspective. How
Sure.
do you go from one step to the next? And how do you figure out, why is it that I'm framing the roof now and I don't have two rafters that are the same length? Well, you can either chase that all the way back down through the house and figure out where the issue was, or build it right from the start. And then you
Right.
don't have to trace it back and figure out, well, it was on my second floor walls, not my first floor walls, or it's the foundation. And so that drove the operations side. When we come to the Ames side, and I'll refer to Ames now as the Ames stores,
Okay.
and did I implement things there? Absolutely. And what I
Yeah.
implemented there is also an operational excellence focus. How do we become a better chain of stores? How do we become more process oriented? How do we present ourselves as truly a chain of stores instead of 100 sole proprietorships that share the name Ames on the front of the building? How do you make it so that when you walk into one Ames, despite the size of the store, you're walking into any Ames and you can easily find the same products in this one that you find in another one. You're greeted in the same way.
This
These are
part,
all things.
this part probably catered to your marketing.
Absolutely.
Getting into that AIM stuff, that would just be like a candy store for a marketing person. Oh, I got
Yes.
control over like 90
Yes.
some. I think it's 94 stores, correct?
94 stores currently. Yes. So
Crazy.
there was a chain of stores called Woodworkers Warehouse. I think it was mostly based up in the Northeast. As a carpenter and a cabinet maker, Woodworkers Warehouse was the dream store of anyone who worked with wood. It was a specialty store, certainly back in the 80s, but I could spend hours and hours and hours in there. It had every little weird tool or big tool that you'd ever need for working with wood. And what it taught me, and what I brought here, and I still say, is everyone thinks that guys or contractors don't care about shopping. Maybe they don't care about shopping for clothing, but guys like to shop just as much as women like to shop. They just shop for different things, but it doesn't
Yeah,
mean they don't want a great shopping experience where they are shopping. And sadly to say, Ames never really focused on the shopping experience for them, either with signage or informational things or even presentation. It was left individually to the store managers, and the store managers are not deeply rooted in presentation and merchandising and marketing skills either. So it didn't lead to a good experience or an even or a consistent experience. That was one side of it. The second side of it that I've taken from the tape tech side of rapidly expanding the range of tools and solutions that Tape Tech offered was how do we rapidly expand and leverage the Ames brand? I mean, Ames is the pioneer of automatic taping and finishing tools since
totally.
1939. We're like 85 years
Yeah,
of Ames is synonymous with drywall finishing, yet you would
yeah.
walk into an Ames store and it would have every other brand of product except Ames. And so this last year, which is my third year in this position, but in this last year, we're rapidly rolling out this full range. We're at 100 plus Ames branded products in our stores, tools and accessories, consumables for the professional contractor that, meet or exceed the quality of the legacy products that we've been carrying from other brands. And it really tries to take advantage of the Ames name that we are a trusted brand. We are the experts. We are the people that you've been coming to for decades to fulfill your needs within this industry and solve your problems. And we have, tested and we have specified these tools. In many cases, we've developed these tools. And so as you go forward, if you go into an Ames store, you'll see more and more a much stronger Ames presence uh, in the branding and the
Yeah.
products that we've offered previously. So
Smart.
that's where I've sort of leveraged the success of Tape Tech and how we quickly built Tape Tech to be the top brand, to bring that to the store side and the operations side between them, which is a shared operation between Tape Tech and Ames, and how we've elevated it that way.
Yeah, I mean, leveraging that brand, that historical brand. I think I heard from somewhere, maybe it was raw. I can't remember, but like in England, there are certain places where they call it Ames. Like
Scotland,
all the taping tools are just
Scotland,
Ames, or drywall finishing is Ames.
yeah, any worker, any finisher in Scotland that uses ATF tools is actually called an Ames taper.
Kleenex or Crocs. I mean, you're getting
Right.
really good brand,
Yeah.
and
So,
so you're leveraging that
right,
potential. Yeah.
right. I mean, people recognize Ames as the founder. And so the notion that the company was not, leveraging that expertise and that brand awareness and that brand
Okay.
power is just crazy. So now we go back to my marketing background, and yes, this is scintillating stuff for me to say, wow, you've got an 85-year-old brand that never really created a brand for itself and leveraged the brand. This is
Yeah.
like a kid in a candy store
Well,
to go and
and
do
good
this.
good for you. You've worked your ass off. You're in a position where it's like you get to like have some fun. You get to like really produce some and leave a legacy. So, and add to an existing legacy that I mean, really, it's a legacy.
Yeah.
So,
It is really
congratulations.
exciting stuff. Really, really, really fortunate to be in the position that I'm in. I say fortunate always the way that I talked about it earlier. You know, this position wasn't gifted to me. It was earned through a lot of hard work, and I would
Yeah.
tell this to anybody. Take the opportunities that you're given, and make the most of them, and good things will happen.
You shed a lot of light on, I mean, my big takeaway would be asking for not just asking for what you want, but the perseverance and positioning yourself, not only at Bosch, but you were not only in the right position, but you weren't afraid to uh, go ask like, hey, I want to do this. I could do a better
Mhm.
job than that person. I know it. And you ask for it. And a lot of, it seems simple, but a lot of people don't do that. And it's crucial, not just in like aims, but in life. Like ask for
Yes,
what you want. If you
yes,
don't you score 0% of the shots you don't take. Another good expression
absolutely,
I
Mr.
like.
Gretzky. Absolutely, Mr. Gretzky.
um, uh, oh, I was going to say that during our conversation, we were talking about tool like the contractors being resistant to change, especially in the drywall industry. And then we'll wrap it up. We're getting close, but I had a couple of shows where I would ask the drywaller because that piques my interest too. How because there's still a lot of tapers out there that don't use the automatic tools. Like they're like all over the
Right,
place. It's still
right.
it still blows my mind. But hey, man, we're tapers. We're slaves to my grandfather taught me this way. I get it. So I started asking the question, what have you learned in the last, it could be a couple months, it could be 2 or 3 years, that you absolutely knew in your heart of hearts would not work, but you tried it and it's better than the way that you were doing it. But you were so resistant to change. And it's a great question for a lot of things. But I would like to ask you, in your position over the last 3 years, something that you like we're just really resistant to change. Somebody kept bugging you about it and you were like, no, 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 I don't want to do that, but then you tried it and it's better.
Ah, finally a question that I need to think about for a second.
Okay.
Um, running through my mind, was it a product thing? Was it a process thing?
I'm sure there's something.
There's always something because if your mind is open to learning and you don't believe that you're the smartest person sitting in the room all the time, there's always something, right? You can always give some pushback. And I think
Sure.
pushback is good. You should always challenge the idea and make sure they can defend the idea and vet it
Okay.
out. Kind of get into all the new categories that we've done with tape tech because those were my idea. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but but I will say, something that that Robbie and Tabitha have sort of been at the forefront on, and this is also partly a factor of having more manpower and support, but um, Tape Tech's made a big push on being a lot more active at more of a local level with contractor day type of events, and really kind of going back to that feet on the street mentality. And part of it was a function that when Tape Tech was only me, I couldn't be everywhere. But Robbie, Carolina, and Mark have made a big effort to get the tools in front of more people down at the grassroots level and demonstrate, why this is a better solution for them, despite the cost difference between finishing by hand and finishing with tools, why this is better. And I was resistant to that purely from an economic side, saying,
Okay.
You guys are going to all these shows for a 2 hour, 3 hour contract day where the guys are really just showing up to get, free barbecue pork sandwiches. They don't really care about the vendors that are there. You're not going to get any,
Right.
but with a sustained effort, they've actually demonstrated that it does begin to yield results. If you
Yeah.
want instantaneous sales that day, probably not going to happen. But that repeated effort, and that's been sort of a team effort of them to get to more trade shows, expand our reach into other trade shows, be much more active where every show is a show that includes demonstration of some sort. So we're at a lot of shows where the only activity happening is at the tape tech booth. Everyone else is the typical tabletop with some brochures out there, and there's just no excitement. And that really has been more impactful than I would have given it credit for. So I give Robbie and Tabitha credit for, um, I can't say wearing me down. I'll say just going and doing it despite my objections with more of a, we're just going to do it and tell him that we did it and prove to him that it works. But again, this goes back to my willingness to give them the autonomy to do what they think is right for the business.
Sure.
Um, And so that's been really kind of a key, and it has led to part of it has led to the reinvention of our job site specialist or tech specialist program that's being run by Mark Wilson. We now have a 5-person team that we're going to expand every year. And this is the ongoing grassroots effort to expose end users to ATF tools as well as EIFS tools and insulation tools and the other categories that we've added, but to let them put their hands on it and see why this makes a difference. And again, to continue and wrap all the way to the beginning about education, I always
Yeah.
tell people that when it comes to the drywall tools, the only argument for these tools cannot be that they're 3.5 times faster, and that when you work 3.5 times faster, you can get more jobs and you can earn more money. And everyone says, but isn't that the point? And I always tell them, not for every generation. For my generation, working faster so you can get more jobs and earn more money is absolutely the only reason that you need. But, for the younger generations, time is more important than money in a lot of instances.
Mm.
They want time for themselves or their hobbies or their families. And what I always tell people is the other thing that building tools that create efficiency and productivity, whether it's drywall or EIFS, insulation, decorative finish, any of these things, if you can save them time, they can choose the value that it produces for them. They can either choose that they can get more work and earn more money with that extra time that you saved, or if going fishing every day after work is what brings you fulfillment in your life, you have time to do that because you can earn the same amount of money in less time if you have the right tools and solutions to do it. So that's a message of the team and of the company going forward is that, first of all, recognize that different things motivate different people and that we should be building solutions, that allow people to have fulfillment in their life, whatever that means for them. I'm too old now to go fishing every day. I'm just going to keep working every day, 14 hours a day.
Well,
But
you like what you do.
I do.
I don't think you would be doing what you do if you didn't love it and enjoy it. And you don't it's not so much work when you're doing something that you love.
I have never considered work to be work. You're
Yeah.
exactly right. Nick. Yeah. I
Yeah.
I love working because back to my original story about being a builder, for me, I get to see something I've accomplished every day. Whatever that is, we were further along in a noticeable fashion than where we started the day. And that's extremely satisfying.
Love it. Love it. Mike Ventura, Ames taping tools, relationships, like that's what it makes me think of. I think the single thing I'm a limited company. I have, I'm starting out, like all that stuff. The most important thing that I do is answer my phone and answer questions. Like without a doubt, that customer relation, every customer is important. Like every person that likes something on Facebook or Instagram, every person that reaches out is the most important person at that time. People are associate that boots on the ground approach with Ames Cares.
They absolutely do. And credit to you for what you just said about your approach to things. You saw yesterday when you sent me a note that I responded, I think, pretty quickly, and I was on a plane
Yeah.
back from Europe.
Yeah.
Part of Tape Tech's success was built on my response time, and we have a lot of dealers and a lot of customers for Tape Tech that told me in writing into my face all around the world that they spoke to multiple brands of tools about adding tools to their store, and they went with Tape Tech because of how fast I responded in general and how fast I responded with information and answers. They've made a clear note of it. And so I push the team in every department, but I push Tape Tech really, really hard to keep that tradition going. People want an answer now. They don't want an answer 4 days from now when it's convenient for you. They have a question now. If they were able to stand in front of you, would you walk away from them for 4 days before you gave them an answer? No, you'd give them an answer. So you have hit on something, Nick, that a lot of people don't do. And a lot of companies don't do and don't recognize the importance of, staying in touch with your customer and responding to their needs quickly, because I view it as one of the magic formulas of the success of Tape Tech since 2010 is that focus on responding to their questions and solving their problems as quickly as possible.
Love it. Love it. That's a good ending point, sir. Thank you so much for your time today and for answering my email. I put these emails out there. I'm sitting there. I'm having my coffee in the morning. Tabitha's like, just email the guy, And again, if you don't ask,
Absolutely.
You never know. I certainly appreciate your time. This was excellent. I thought it was a good interview. Hopefully, our listeners will think so. I think they will.
I think so.
I hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity and for the time. I was asking myself for a while, boy, he's talked to Carolina, he's talked to Robbie. What is he going to talk to everyone except me? I'm chopped liver. But here we are. Great to talk to you again, and really love the opportunity. Love supporting you and the podcast.
Thank you.
And look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, sir. Talk soon. Bye. Yeah. Huge shout out to Mike for being with us on the Drywall Podcast today, sharing your story. What a great conversation. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that we stay in contact into the future. I know, this has been kind of a Ames Tape Tech kind of episode, but we still need to recognize them for their support of the Drywall Podcast. Without sponsors like Ames and Tape Tech, I wouldn't get to bring you awesome content like what you just heard. Shout out to them for sponsoring the Drywall Podcast in the month of December. This is their 5th sponsorship, and we're highlighting the MudRunner Pro. One of the biggest upgrades is the adjustable length from 52.5 to 60.5, giving you the versatility you need. And if you still need more reach, Tape Tech's got you covered with the MRX01TT MudRunner Pro extension, sold separately. It adds up to 20% more overall length to the MudRunner Pro when installed. And because of how it attaches to the extension port, the extension actually becomes your new twisting on and off lever for the tool. That is really cool. Pair the MudRunner Pro with any inside or outside corner finisher and fill it with a standard pump and filler, and you're ready to go. More efficiency, more control, less fatigue. This is the smoothest way to finish corners, people. Also, Tape Tech and AMES are gracious enough to be giving one of these babies away at the end of the month by yours truly. All you have to do is email me at info@frescoharmony.com, your full name, address, where you want it shipped, email, and your phone number. Thank you so much for joining us on the Drywall Podcast. Today, you've got a lot of choices when you listen to something on the radio, whether you're at work or in your car. Today, you chose the Drywall Podcast, and I am grateful to you for that. Join us next week. We have JP Gagnon with the Smart Corner on the 157th episode of the Drywall Podcast. But until then, I hope you all have an amazing Christmas, holiday, whatever you celebrate, whatever you do. Be safe, be kind, reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time, and remember, keep drywalling.